Hello, everybody. Johnny Disc Golf back with another interview here at the 2023 PDGA World Championships. I am joined this time by our most recent major winner, Mr. Corey Ellis. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. It's hard to be doing bad here.
Absolutely. It's just beautiful here, isn't it?
It's really special. It's one of the first big events I ever actually was able to come to back in 2016. I have family in the area, so it has a little bit of like special resonance for me. What is your like relationship with Vermont? Like, how many times have you been here? What do you think of it?
This is my third time coming to Vermont. It's a special place, man. It really is. Just feeling all the vibes of the community and the small town. You know, there's no big box stores here. There's no Walmart anywhere close. Maybe you got to drive like 45 minutes to the closest city.
Yeah.
So it's just nice.
Well, and you're from West Virginia, so hey, I spent a little time, not a ton of time, but it kind of has a similar vibe with mountainous region, kind of small town energy. Is that ring true?
Very much so. Yeah. Where I'm from is a little more city even than this. So, but it's definitely nice. The roads are very similar. The scenery is very similar. It's beautiful.
Well, it's a good place to be feeling at home because we're here, 2023 Worlds. How's the game feeling? How is your energy level? People have been talking about a little bit of burnout and that sort of thing. I think that just comes with being on tour. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm feeling a lot better now. I had a little bit of a hand/wrist injury, and it's feeling a lot better. 100%. I feel good to go.
Perfect. And then how's you've been on tour for some years now, but how is the routine of it all? We're on like month 7 almost of the tour. Like, how does your like emotional level feel?
It's bittersweet to know, this another year is almost gone. Yeah, it goes by so fast, and especially, with my wife here, and we get to explore areas around sometimes by taking some weeks off. There's some people that grind it out and play every single tournament every single week, and it's amazing that they can do that. And but I think it's important to take time off, and I think my body kind of told me that when the little bit of an injury happened, and it allowed me to rest up, and I don't feel so burnt out like the rest of everyone else is feeling right now.
Yeah, and you could kind of see it on people's faces a little bit, and then other people. I talked to Ezra. He said burnout isn't real. Like, you're not feeling burnt out if you're winning an event or if you're playing real well.
I don't know. I feel like if you're playing every week, you're gonna get burnt out.
Yeah, that's kind of where I slide as well. I thought it was a hot take. He stuck with it though, so I respect him for
Yeah,
sticking to
I
his
mean,
guns. Yeah.
Ezra's a strange cat sometimes.
You mentioned it just a second ago, though. You have your wife on the road. That wasn't always the case for you. Could you speak to maybe the importance of that for you, just holistically?
I think that it has absolutely helped. I mean, she does a lot. She cooks for us and makes sure where we're staying is all well kept, and keeping me in the right headspace is a good aspect. She doesn't think she did much for me to win the major, but I definitely couldn't have done it without her help.
I I empathize completely. It's oftentimes not the tangible things. Like, you can't really pick up the help or the value, but just having somebody in your corner through a long season like this, I think, is just like invaluable, especially like down the stretch at these. I mean, it's all huge events, coming down. Um, I want to talk a little bit about the major championship. Obviously, it's the biggest narrative in your life, I would imagine, over the last handful of weeks. Just looking back on it now, we've had some time removed. Just talk about the experience. Like, what do you think back on? What do you remember most, maybe, about those times?
The energy of being at the course with all the crowd of people, the goosebumps on hole one it's the only place that's ever happened to me besides USDGC.
Wow.
Even Worlds. I've played Worlds several times, and it's not. I haven't got that same feeling. It's just prestigious. It's a very prestigious event.
I mean, absolutely. And I think one of the things it has going for it, and from what I hear, it may not be there forever, but the fact that it's been played at the same venue for so long, I think is why USDGC feels that way as well. You're on like hallowed grounds, really. The sport grew up there. I guess, like, how would you compare that event? Because I've never even been there. How would you compare that event to like some of our biggest events over here? Was it comparable to the biggest? Did it feel bigger or different?
It felt like the most professional event I've ever been to. The way
Wow.
it was ran, even the spectators. I've talked about this before on other podcasts and stuff. The spectators are disciplined, I would say. I think it's just the community of Finland. Like everyone's just so nice and welcoming. And Jussi would be like, quiet, and even the little kids would just like freeze, and nobody would move or make a peep.
Wow.
It was impressive.
Well, one of the fun little one of the little narratives that I was privy to that I'm not sure how much everyone else was, Portland Open. Going into that final round, I believe you were talking with Seth Muncie and you weren't sure if you were going to go to Europe, and you were like, listen, if I win this one, I'm buying my tickets like tonight. Could you maybe talk about that exchange, that experience, and maybe how that performance got you to Europe?
Yeah, that absolutely propelled me. We talked about it before the first round of the event. I was like, I wasn't even sure if we were going to be able to make it because it's not cheap going out west, and life happens. So it's just one of those things where I dug deep and came out with a good tournament at the right time and propelled my way to be able to. And we also got really lucky on the tickets. It was less than $2,000 for our round trips for both of us.
Both of you? Yeah. Wow, that's actually incredible. Where'd you fly? Helsinki, or would you?
Yeah, from New York to Helsinki, just one way, or
nice.
straight. Yeah.
You've won a major. I want to talk a little bit about that final round, though, because you didn't win it in traditional fashion, right? All the eyes were on AB coming down the stretch. You were hanging tough. Really matching him for the most part, but he just had a couple strokes that whole time of a little bit of a gap. Walk me through your perspective of hole 16.
So I took a big number round one on that hole. I threw my tee shot out of bounds and then threw inbounds, laid up, and I decided after that I was gonna lay up every time, unless I needed to go for it on the final day if I was in contention. And I never checked the scores throughout a round, even throughout the tournament. Like even after obviously I'll see how I shot at the end of the round, but I'm not looking at the scores when I play. We played hole 15, and after I threw my drive is when I looked at the scores to see where we were.
Wow.
Yeah. So I knew he had a stroke, I think. I think it was one.
It has like one or two, but yeah, one, yeah.
And when he threw close to the OB line, I knew I had to throw one closer to put the pressure on him to be able to throw that shot. And then what happened. But, let's say he only threw out of bounds once and then threw it in, Let's also say the putts that hit dead center and spit out that I made. So
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
So people can, you can argue both ways. You know what I mean? So it's just that's the way the cards were dealt, and I took advantage of the situation.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing that for me stuck out. I mean, everybody has heartbreaks or out on tour. A thing goes this way or that way. Sometimes it's on video, sometimes it's not, and no one ever knows. Yeah. I think back to Beaver State Fling, the insane through the basket thing. I think it was even more than one of your putts at European Open that I saw kick right back out. Talk about like hanging tough in the pocket maybe, and were you always that type of person to maybe not like lose confidence, lose faith that you were gonna stick it out?
Definitely not. Growing up in the sport, when I was a teenager and even early 20s, I was a bit of a hothead. I would get mad, and I tell people that now, and they're like, "No, there's no way." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I wasn't. I don't think as bad as some people, but when I was a teenager, I was the worst. I was to throw my bag over the hill and leave and say I'm never playing disc golf again, and then literally go back play the next day. But it's been a transition, and to know not to get upset. You have to just persevere, and I think that's the word I'm looking for, and just keep trucking, man. Like one putt could cost you everything, but you can't let it affect you. you have to keep making putts.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of that mindset, I maybe don't think I can't think of anyone else maybe but Ricky Wysocki. He almost embodies that mantra and mindset the most, and that's someone that you travel around with a lot. Has he played a role in maybe your growth as a disc golfer?
Absolutely. I think last year especially, with him and Ari, like they helped me tremendously, even just with sometimes places to stay when I didn't have any other place. And you know, I thank them. They know I'm very grateful for all the help that they've given me, and it goes the same way. I've helped Rick with certain things. Not a lot of people will play rounds with Rick and won't. They're like afraid to tell him he's doing something wrong, instead of he's open to criticism, which is, constructive criticism is always good.
Yeah, it's a great quality, really, to have to be open to it.
Yeah.
Um, the reason for the season, right? The reason that we're sitting here, World Championships. Are you drawing up a win this week? Where's your confidence level? How do you? What would be an acceptable finish for you? Is it win or bust?
Yeah. I mean, I'm playing to win. I'll always play to win. That's why I didn't play D-Glow and Idlewild. I didn't feel like my hand was up to it, and didn't feel like I would be able to compete for the win. So decided not to play and let my hand rest, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do this.
I love it, dude. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, truly. That's about all I have for this interview. But I want to give you a chance to maybe speak to the people at home, any of the fans, supporters. This camera's yours. What do you got to say?
Just want to thank everybody for all the love and support messages I've gotten. It's been, especially with European Open, I didn't get to open everyone's message, but just know I get the love, and thank you so much. All my sponsors: Discraft, Whale Sex, Squatch, Resistance, EDO, Circle One, everybody, my wife.
The biggest sponsor of all, let's be honest.
Yeah. Just thank you guys.
No, and thank you, Corey. Man, I really appreciate your time. I know it's busy, especially these days leading up to World. So again, thank you so much for your time. That is it for this interview. If you folks at home would like interviews of as many pros as I can for the rest of the season and beyond, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.